Yeah, I guess I'll give a quick opinion of what's going on right now. So, we've had the situation where 725 has been king node for a while now, actually, like before we started this push. We had this big stack of nodes, right? From 7010 to 7020, all positive gamma on SPX. So we actually had like conflicting messaging, right? So if we go back and go back a bit here. So I guess if we go to like maybe 2 p.m., maybe a bit earlier actually. Yeah, I guess around here is fine. Right, where we had, yes, we had our king node at 725, but we had this big stack of positive volume, right? So we have this case where SPX looks bullish, but there's a chance that we reject at these nodes, right? That the 7010 holds as a ceiling. And this is similar to what happened earlier in the day. So earlier we rejected off 7,000, which is obviously a psychological level, but it also had pretty decent positive volume. This was a node that later flipped to negative. So I can replay a bit further back and show the midday a bit later. But I know on SPY and QQQ, we were actually looking like we had a chance of a good squeeze, right? So QQQ, we had obviously 630 was a floor earlier. So this started at 630, but then 632 was catching good volume, right? And with this negative node above, we had like a bit of a reverse rug pull there. But then what we'll notice is 634 and 635 like exploded in volume, right? So 633 deepened first, but then we got a huge amount of volume step in here, right? So 634, 635 in 5 minutes after 2 p.m. flared up massive, right? Same thing, 7025 flared up in volume. And SPY was also at a good floor, right? Where we could sort of get a further push. Um, so I was around 2 p.m., so around here, right? Now the big thing here was, okay, do we expect a full push all the way to 725? Probably not, right? Because of all this positive volume, right? So obviously these nodes aren't as strong, right? They're a bit weaker, but this is still volume that as we push into it can hinder a full upwards move, right? And then as we started pushing through, what you'll see is 637 grew, and then a lot of this negative volume that was evenly spread from 633 to 635 started to concentrate over on 635. So then that now became okay, like this is now our potential ceiling, right? As that just picked up volume. And then combine that with these nodes still maintain their relative volume. And then we ended up rejecting sort of the middle of the stack, right? 7015. And that's where we are right now. So where we're kind of sitting is okay, 7015 rejected. We're now still sitting in this positive node stack. And then now QQQ, it's looking pretty similar to SPY, right? Where we have 2 to 3 nodes with just a ton of negative gamma, right? But you have this odd thing where this negative gamma zone on SPY QQQ is actually counteracted by a positive gamma zone on SPX, right? So usually in these cases, depending what trade you're taking, I'll usually what I do is I stick on like the safer side, right? So if I'm playing calls, I'll just assume there's a chance that it'll be positive gamma and that we may run into a bit of chop or a bit of rejection. So I'll probably trim earlier. But I guess like if you're selling spreads, the positive would actually help you. So you'd want to assume it's negative gamma, right? So always like if you see conflicting messages, and this happened last week on Friday, right? We had a floor that was positive on SPY, negative on QQQ, or maybe it's the opposite. But the point is they were contradicting. So in those cases, I'll just based on however you're trading it, just assume the worst case scenario and just stick to that. And that'll just be safest. All right. Any questions on that? Or any other questions based on the day? I think I can also go replay maybe around 11:20 would be interesting to look at. At least for now, it looks like if we're able to hold here, right, and it looks like maybe 7010 is now flipping to a floor. So if we get this big positive stack to hold as a floor, we can definitely push a bit higher, right, towards the 7025. Um, and SPY would probably be tapping into that 700. See if we can get a push towards like the 700 psych level on SPY. And then, yeah, same with QQQ. Like QQQ, you can get a little bit of a push higher. 7020. Call credit spreads. Yeah, I'd be cautious with those, right? Because if we are able to break above this big zone of positive gamma, then we could squeeze through, right? And we may end the day at around 7030, right? Or 735 even. So I'd be pretty cautious on call credit spreads. Unless you're taking like 7040. That probably has terrible premium though. I can go check. But yeah, I'd be pretty hands off on a call credit spread right now. But let me check the volume. Yeah, Trishul, these are some of the trickiest ones, right? So I think today or yesterday was actually a good day. I need to make a video recap of that. I'll do that tomorrow, or not tomorrow, after market close. I think today the only continuation would have been this really sharp pullback, but this is one of the worst trend days where if you didn't get in off that morning floor, so I think there was a very good trade in the morning that I'll also do the recap on for today. But if you're not in off that trade, like these pullbacks are super minimal, especially on QQQ, right? SPX was given like a little bit more, but still these are very small pullbacks, right? So then it's just a tricky day for any spread strategy, I'll be honest. Um, AP, you've been in it from this morning. You've been in the 720 call credit spread or something else? Bose, can I repeat on the SPX spread? Bose, what portion of what I said on the spread? Like what strikes out select, or was it earlier when I was talking about the gamma regime? Um, but yeah, AP, I think, yeah, at least right now, I'd be really hesitant on any kind of call credit spread. This 70-25 is also growing a lot in volume. So yes, this positive stack may hold, but there's a chance we're just going to slow grind through it and sort of claim it as a floor. So I would not. I mean, at this point, Bose, it'd be safer to play put credit spread. Probably Bose, but at this point, I probably wouldn't play any spreads. Like spreads often do best if you open them earlier in the day because you want to be able to collect a lot of premium, right? If you open them too late in the day, you're now having to be really close to the money to get a decent amount of premium, and then any kind of reshuffle can kill you, right? So I would, if you're doing spreads, I would not open them after like noon, honestly, unless you get some like sharp drop like this and enter here. But usually you're trying to take spreads before 11 a.m. That's my method. And I know some people who are even more extreme, they take them like before 10 a.m., right? Now they go quite far out the money. And a lot of times they're doing NDX, which allows you to collect similar premiums for further out of the money contracts. But yeah, I would not once you hit lunchtime, I would pivot towards something else, right? Either wait for the next day, look into if you want to stick with spreads, I guess you could look into like butterflies or what's the other one? I think if you do broken wing butterflies, they behave very similarly, where you have a one-sided directional play. So that would be maybe an approach you can use. That's a lot cheaper, right? And it's not based on premium collection. So any premium collection strategy, you want to make sure that you are entering early in the day, right? Anything that you're buying, it's a bit you have more flexibility, right? So late day, I'd stick to something that's more debit spreads or butterfly, broken wing butterfly, something like that. Yes, Trishul's completely correct. So yeah, so credit spreads, if you have a strong trend day and you're not in the direction of the trend, it's very hard with credit spreads, right? Because let's say you took call credit spreads around 7,000, yes, you get this big drop, but you'll need to make sure you're very far out of the money because now we're getting a strong push through, right? And this has happened. I think yesterday was the same, right? If you enter, depending when you enter it, right, you may be dealing with quite a bit of drawdown, because it's a lot harder to call the like high of day with these trend days, right? So yeah, I mean, I don't, let me pull up the options chain. I was curious, more curious than anything, what was going on. But yeah, if our like potential worst case scenario for today, it looks like 70-35, right? Would be the high on SPX, QQQ 637. So if you look at 70, so you'd be wanting to take like 70-40, right? 70-40, 745. At that point, yeah, you're looking at like 30, $20 of premium for a $10 spread. So it's just really not enough value, at least in my opinion, right? Not enough value to hold those, right? So yeah, I would stick to the morning bows if you're looking into that. But if you're looking into doing that bows, I would strongly suggest open a paper account on Thinkorswim and just mess around with it, right? Because there's a lot of things to account for when you're selling spreads, right? Like what is the width of your spread? What time are you entering it? Is it a trend or chop day? Like there's a lot of things you'll need to learn. So I would really encourage do it that way because if you set some of the stuff up incorrectly, you can yeah, you can mess up quite a big chunk of money. Uh, yeah, and Trishul actually, so for anyone who's interested in it, Trishul has like a really good recap thread in the trade reviews. So I do a few video recaps. He does like more written ones, but he has some really quality trades. So I'd encourage anyone who's interested or already doing them or wanting to learn more, go look through some of his resources, and then I can also forward some of the videos I've made. Yeah, Trishul, thanks for sharing that. Um, all right. So yeah, we're just like I said, right? The and that so another thing, what was previously we might have held as a floor, what we've had here is like these levels are now fading. So they did hold a little bit, right? So we got 70 15 gave a bit of a rejection. And when we first tapped 70 10, it slowed down as well. But those notes have now faded a bit, and we've gotten a huge increase in 70 25, right? So it seems we're really pushing towards like a more squeezy setup, right? And now SPX is falling into line with what we're seeing on SPY QQQ, which is, predominantly negative king node, just sitting there, right? So we still haven't cleared 70 20, but it looks like we're getting really close, right? And also SPY might be reaching for that psych level up at 700. So, all right, let me see here. Got a few more people. Yeah, so like I said, yeah, that was I know it's all been credit spreads, but if any of y'all have any other questions, I'm happy to go over whether it's trades you took and just want feedback on, whether it's trades you're looking at for the rest of the week. I know with OPEX week, some of the individual maps look pretty funky. So that's also something we can look at if anyone needs. All right, let me see what's going on here. Yeah, but we've had pretty insane stretch of days here. Um, just crazy rips on the market. So this has been interesting. Do I see more potential upside on SPY, SPX, QQ, JMF? Um, yeah, but at this point it's pretty slight, right? Like 70 25 looks like it can pull a bit further. QQQ, we're getting close to that ceiling. Like I would not expect us to go past 637. I'd be pretty surprised. So it looks like we're getting towards the upside. Not quite there yet, though. The issue with all these negative nodes, right, is we know it's a higher, like a increase in volatility in these zones. So a lot of times what'll happen is we'll overshoot these. So I know it looks like there's a bunch of ceilings in place right now, but usually I'll wait for the overshoot and then enter the trade, right? Like if you're trying to do, I guess, like late day puts, let's say. So at least myself, I'd probably be waiting for like a full overshoot. So maybe once we tap 70 30 or 637 on QQQ, then I'd say maybe we can fade that. But there's a chance we reject early, just that I've with these negative nodes, there's just a higher chance we overshoot. So I just prefer, especially late day, prefer to be dealing with that kind of drawdown. And also like the recent days have been pretty squeezed end of days. So yeah, I also don't want to fight that too much. So yeah, I would, yeah, I'd probably just let this settle down, if I were y'all. But again, it's up to you. Um, and also, JMF, right? Like when you're doing any reversal based strategy, like one quick thing you can always do is like check what situation you're in, right? So when we've just pumped 80, what, like $40 on SPX. So sure, there may be a bit more upside, like 10 points. But the risk reward, like the trade has already gone, whether you got in here or maybe around here on the 7,000 level, this break, let's say. But you should be looking at this as like a trade that already happened and played out, right? So maybe here, right, where we had 2 to 3 rejections, and you play the break and retest, right, of the 7,000 level. But at this point, I would not be focused on any kind of further upside, right? Even if we think it may be there, right? Like the risk reward is, it's not, it's not like an asymmetric risk reward anymore. Is my point there. You're looking forward on 417. Yeah, give me a second. I can go pull that up. Oh, on OPEX? Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah, so we have what, 7050? Yeah, so 7050's been there. There's a couple meetings in the mornings that I had seen those. Also, if you're looking forward a few days, look at VEX as well, right? So when you look at VEX on SPY, even from the morning, actually, this 665 node has lost a lot of volume, and we've seen a big push in these nodes up here, 705 and 710. So that, as well as yeah, you see like they're growing 25% on the 4 hour. Actually, this 705 hasn't grown, but the upside one did. SPY, let's see this node. Actually, this SPX node is faded. Oh, that's actually really interesting. What is growing then? Oh, 7,100 tomorrow. Holy. Yeah, so this node is like completely new. This was not here when I was looking in the morning. So again, when you're looking at VEX for future days, still it should be the same thinking as when you do Trinity, right? Like you're still trying to look at all three VEX and see, do we have a good alignment in terms of directionality, right? So at least right now, it looks like they're pretty aligned for upside. SPX is actually showing more limited upside than the other two, but we'll see how this shifts. I mean, tomorrow it's looking. This says SPX node is really interesting. Friday has a lot of volume, JMF, because of OPEX. That's pretty expected. All right. RSI. Oh, I'm not sure. I don't look at RSI, so I'm not. Yeah, I can't say much there. Um, but yeah, it looks like, yeah, we've had a crazy push past week or so. Yeah, another thing I'll point out, like a lot of times when we start approaching all-time highs, we do get a bit more divergence on the indexes. So this is something that was happening a lot last year. I know like if some of you are a lot more newer to the tool, obviously this hasn't been the case until now. Um, but we do see a bit heavier divergence, not just in like the heat maps, but just in the index movement itself, right? So always take note of that, and like there's times I'll reduce my sizing if I'm seeing like pretty heavy divergence. So today wasn't too bad, but definitely QQQ was surging a lot more than SPX, right? Um, so just keep track of that, and it's something where typically you don't actually need to care too much which index you're trading. But if we do get really heavy divergence on a given day, then you may actually need to vary which of the two you're trading, right? Based on which one is showing a better chart thesis. So I think, was it yesterday I was showing someone of this? Let me think here. Yeah, I think it was yesterday I was talking to someone about this, where it's like this support resistance flip here on SPX. So like let's say if you took puts here, right? That looks a lot cleaner than QQQ is just a lot more compressed, right? So you do get this kind of behavior when we start pushing towards all-time highs. So it's just something to be aware of. Typical, why is it harder to trade in a day like this than headline war? Um, So that's a person-to-person thing, right? Some people love trading high volatility environments. Some people hate it, right? So, because the thing with like with all the news headlines is yes, it's really annoying because it can derail some of your trades like very heavily. But at the same time, all those headlines are providing a lot of movement, right? A lot of space for price to move, a lot of jumps and, dips and reversals, etc. So yes, it makes it a little trickier in terms of like you can have some trades go way against you immediately if just a headline happens to come out. And that's why you should, size accordingly and size safer when you're in those headline environments. But it does give many, many opportunities throughout the days to trade, right? Whereas with trend days, the tricky part about them is there's some times where, if you're trending strong, you're just staring at this chart all day and nothing really shows up, right? Because if you miss that initial push or drop, whichever way we're trending, you just end up stuck all day waiting for a reversal, and we never really get any strong reversals, right? So today actually we did get one like off 7,000 when we first fully tapped that psych level. We got a really strong drop. But there has not been not much else, right? After that, it's just went straight back to trending. So, um, and usually when you're learning to trade reversals, like these are the worst days, right? So it doesn't surprise me that it feels a little bit more difficult, than some of the days, even though the other days when we're hectic, they give a lot more reversal opportunities. So, so yeah, I mean the important thing, typical is like learn to identify when you're having these trends. And then if you're not certain, right, if you can't tell if it's a trend or not, then just be, be more cautious. It's always safer to just be cautious. And like in the past, I'd have trend days I just wouldn't trade at all, right? I would just turn everything off, because I knew if I kept trying to short or not short or short or long, whichever ways, but if I kept trying to reverse the overall move and it was a really strong trend, that it would just, blow me to pieces, right? Yeah. Good point, AP. So yeah, on trend days, I don't use them personally, but yeah, when you're looking at any kind of um EMA taps, or if you're looking at like some people do like the VWAP, some people will short like the VWAP bands, but then some people will just wait for that short to happen and then just long off the actual VWAP test itself. Um, so it depends. Like either be able to identify the day that we're having and just choose your strategy accordingly. Or if it's still something you're really focused on learning reversals and you don't, if you feel that trying to add in this whole, like a different strategy for a different day, if that's just going to be more confusing than helpful, then just treat these as days that you should be trading very, very little, right? And you can always learn to handle them later, but if you're still focused on just learning the base reversals, then these are just going to be days you don't trade very much at all, right? But yeah, hopefully that, and yeah, typical, always feel free to, you can always message me if you have any questions there. Baggins, was the double Pico floor on QQQ the giveaway of this pump? Oh yeah, so if you're talking about like the morning, oh, data loading, wait, the heat map's down. Oh shoot. Wait, give me a second, Baggins. Yeah, Baggins, like that low of day, I think that setup was actually really strong. Where we had like really strong SPY and QQQ floors. All right, these maps aren't gonna load, I don't think. All right, let me go do this the old-fashioned way. It's gonna take me a second. Give me a second here. Oh, maybe they are loading. Okay, sweet. Never mind. All right, that saves me a lot of time. Pulling these replays is a pain on the Heatseeker bot. All right, so if we go to like, oh shoot, maybe something is wrong. Are y'all having issues as well? Is it just me? Oh, wonderful. All right, I don't know what's going on. Damn. All right, let me go pull these out the bot. All right, you guys are gonna see old school Trinity mode, old school replay mode. All right, so we have, what is today? 2026, 04, 15. I don't know what time that pump happened. Hopefully 9:35 is a good guess. Oh shoot, even the bot is broken. All right. Once this gets fixed, I'll make you a recap on this, Baggins. Oh, this is really annoying. So I know there was a really nice play like 9:45. We got a very strong dip, and like there's a very clear floor that was shared between QQQ and SPY. 10:45, I'd have to double check. You're saying on this drop here, or maybe just after? Yeah, I'd have to check this 10:45 one. I was not looking at the heat maps at that time. Oh man, we're really squeezing this. Oh, that's annoying. Close to like 100. Hard refresh will fix it. All right, sweet. Thanks, typical. You bought the dip there. It got faked out at the pullback at noon. Oh, yeah, that pullback. Was there news? All right, I don't think the refresh worked. This is really annoying. Anyways, you got faked out at the pullback at noon. Yeah, I don't remember if that was news on that pullback, but that was like an extremely. I think I was holding a. What did I have at that time? I think I had a put credit spread. So I was dealing with some heat on that during that pullback, but it ended up bouncing pretty quick after, luckily. Yeah, so I mean it depends, right? I don't know if it's something where you said 10:45 you entered. I mean, if you entered at 10:45, actually this might have been a lot of chop. I don't know if you really had much profits by the time we hit 7,000. So if it was enough to be in profits, I probably would have just trimmed and left break even, so you would have gotten stop break even on this dip. But otherwise, if you didn't trim at all, you still, yeah, I guess that's the sizing will really come into play there, right? If you're sized for zero, then yeah, I mean you're letting that trade run out however it is, right? All right. The heat maps on Discord have values that are 0K sometimes. Really, Baggins? Can you send that to me? They have zero, what is this? SPY, SPX, QQQ? They shouldn't. Do you know what the strike was of those zero nodes? Uh, no, so SPY should not be showing any ghost nodes. Like if it's an SPX, if it's a strike on SPX, it's just going to show on SPX. It shouldn't be showing on SPY. So I know what might be happening. I know there's these point 0.8 strikes and point 0.5 strikes on SPY and QQQ. I know we got rid of them on the website logic. Okay, yeah, something's up with the heat maps. I'm not even going to try to pull up this replay. I know we got rid of them like in the website logic. Maybe that logic is not actually in the Discord maps. That might be what's going on. But if it's truly zero volume, I would just ignore it, right? Like if it's one of those weird nodes, yeah, if it's point 0.5, just ignore it. Just treat that as not even there. And then it'll also be happening on point 0.8 on QQQ. Yeah, so that's an issue. Yeah, for anyone on web, you're not going to see that issue, but anyone on Discord, I didn't know. I thought, yeah, like I didn't know the change was only affecting one and not the other. But yeah, okay, that's good to know. I don't. Yeah, have to chat with the developers. I don't know if we'd be able to fix that or not. But yeah, if you're seeing those like ghost nodes, just ignore them. I think the issue we had before is people kept viewing them as like air pockets. They're like, oh, like we're gonna rip through this, but it's actually just not. It's not anything, if that makes sense. So If we rejected, now you said if price stalled and bounced off of it, I'd be curious if that node correlated with like a negative node above or below. Because in that case, we're rejecting off the negative node or positive node that's nearby, not the empty value node itself. Debit spread. Oh, for downside, Trishul? Put debit spread. Yeah, I think put debit spread. We get some kind of pullback. I was doing call credit spread. Although I entered that one terribly. I think I entered like on this triple bottom. So I got pretty smoked through on this drop, but they ended up recovering fine. Yeah, so for anyone who's newer and is able to like look into some of the debit spreads because you can trade those almost the same as calls puts, but they're a little more forgiving in terms of drawdown and just cost basis. So I've been messing around with those a bit more, especially if that rule about 25K to day trade gets removed, which I think it did get approved. It's just I don't know when it's actually going to be implemented on the brokerages. I think debit spreads will have a ton more value for a lot of users. So something to look into. Baggins happened a bunch today. Wait, I'm looking at this image now, Baggins. Yeah, so Baggins, that node is gonna have zero volume always. Yeah, but you see in this case, right? The 697.5 is zero volume, but we're sitting in between two negative nodes, right? So if to me I'm saying, okay, like this is a stack of negative nodes, that's what we're bouncing off of. We're not actually bouncing off the 97.5 Baggins. Typical, you're going. Okay, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't have said that. Probably most people should stick to to cash accounts. But I think either way, even if they approve it for lower account sizes, yeah, typical. I know you're joking, but some people will not be joking. Um, I think even if they switch it to a lower requirement, they still have to have some rule of like you can't actually sort of like the limited margin way that IRAs work. So I think what IRAs will do is like, yeah, you can trade with margin, but it's only like you still need to have the capital on hand to back it up. So you can't just like go start putting in extra margin. So I assume that's how these firms are going to handle that, but we'll see. High with interest rates. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I don't know too much on that side, like how the margin stuff works, because like I have a margin account that I use credit spreads on, but I don't use the extra capital. I treat it like a cash account. So yeah, Trish, you got a nice drop there. Let's see if it holds through. If we get a bigger drop or not. AP, yeah, SPX looking pretty bullish into end of week, from what I was looking at, from the VEX I was pulling up earlier. And it seems, I guess, yeah, I'm probably gonna be wrong on this just for saying it, but it seems like stuff like news cycles are not as violent. There's still news coming out, but I feel like it's not just giving like these huge candles like it was 2 weeks ago. Um, but again, yeah, I'll probably jinx it at this point, and then we're gonna get a ton of news overnight. Yeah, typical. Yeah, exactly. Typical. I think they realized like I don't know. It's a lot of talk and then like not all of it was substance. And I think also like I think the way news is reported nowadays also doesn't help because news will get reported pretty quick, but then it also takes some time to verify like is it real or not? And then so yeah, it's a pretty odd way of how the news is going. Yeah, Mugen Heatbot is down. Heatbot. Yeah, the Heatseeker bot is it was pulling like a 503 error when I was trying to use it like 20 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago. Index Gex levels. Yes. Yeah, Trisha, I think AP, she's pretty interested in also doing like 1 DT, 2 DT spreads. So I think she's also going to be looking at Vex. So I think that's why she was asking. All right, 316. Yeah, we're kind of just sitting around here. All right, anyone else have any questions? I can stick around a while longer. People have questions or trades they want to look over. But otherwise, this replay mode being down is not helping me at all. I was trying to look at some of the morning, but I may have to leave that. I guess I'll just record a recap video once this is working later. Just record some recaps and post those. But um, oh, what's up, Dolce? How you been, bro? Is Flow Seeker running? Yes. I think for today, pro users got access to it. Oh, Chris, you're initiate. I think right now it's on pro, and as I think they didn't want to batch release it to everyone just to see how it handles the load of higher. Like, there's already been like a small group, probably like 10, 20 people using it for a little bit of time. So I think they wanted to see, okay, now we put a few hundred, how's it handling that load? And then it'll get released to initiate after. And then I guess community will be last to access. But I think by end of next week, everyone should have access to FlowSeeker. Maybe even by Friday or this weekend, it'll be out for initiate. Uh, don't quote me on that though. It's up to the developer. All right. How do I sync TradingView and Skylit Replay? Can you sh Scully, what do you mean there? So it's the speed. Oh, I generally don't sync them. Like I just go candle by candle. So like if I'm doing replay in Trinity, I don't actually press play. I just press the forward and back arrows, and I usually just go like 5 minutes at a time or something like that, or go a little small, more granular once I'm in there. But I don't. Yeah, I guess like I don't replay them simultaneously. I'll just sort of click back and forth. Like I think bar replay on TradingView, you can also instead of pressing play, you can just set it so it's you see as many candles as you want coming up. So that's how I use it, Scully. I think someone did once try to link them up and they weren't able to get it like the timing perfect. Um, but what you can do actually, if you go to Dixon's YouTube, so Dixon, here, let me send a thread in here. I mean, he's had like replays of a ton of days, so you can also just go through there and just watch his videos. What I do is the time lapse is too fast, so either pause it and go through it that way, or just what was I gonna say? Yeah, pause it, go through it that way, or just put it on like 0.25 playback speed, and that'll help it be manageable. Because yeah, if you time lapse it, you're not gonna be able to. There's no way you're gonna be able to look at that. All right, Craig, how's it going, Craig? Late. Oh, Easter eggs on Agent Hub. No, Craig, I think right now the big focus has been Atlas and Nexus. So I'm not actually sure where those agents sit. I know Stewie has been worked on, not by Glitch, but John and actually, I don't think his name is out. I won't say his name. I don't know if he wants me to share, but the other AI lead, they're looking at continuing to work on Stewie. So I think the goal with Stewie is it can be like a little bit of a chat, like a little chat bot where people can reference it, right? They can say like, oh, as they're trading, they just ask Stewie like, okay, like what's your read on the map right now? And then just get a bit of like bounce back there. But I think the issue with releasing something like that is you need it to be very consistent, like to give a solid opinion. Because if it's just going to say like, oh, maybe this, maybe that, there's really no value, right? It actually needs to be something to provide a second opinion that's valid, right? So I think the big issue there is John's wanting to make sure it's like very high quality. What is Stevie? Stewie Rum Runner is like it's an AI they're working on. So I think Glitch posted a screenshot earlier, like a little teaser of it. They've been, I mean, they've been working on it a while, I think. I just it's finally got a spot where it can actually be some of the output is usable. What happened to Agent Zero? I think that got tabled. I think it's still there. I just don't think it's been iterated on because a lot of, not a lot of, like basically all of Glitch's bandwidth has been on the charting integration and Nexus. Give access to Stewie. I can't, sadly, I can't give access to anything. Um, but I think from the outputs I've seen, like it's still too rough. It's same thing as Agent Orange, right? Where it's like you look at the outputs and there's like a billion things, so it's not actually helpful if it's too much info. Just at least not yet. It's not able to synthesize. I guess like specify down to a very low amount of for Agent Zero, like a low amount of quality setups, and then for Sui, like it puts out like these huge paragraphs. So I would prefer if it's like given a shorter analysis, more brief, right? So I think that's, but it's being worked on, right? Like I know it's work in progress, right? Yeah, Craig will have his bots beefing around. Dolce. Oh yeah, Dolce, I trust you, but I'm recording this sadly, so uh yeah, I'm not running that risk. Now that Tirth is on success team. No, so yeah, so Tirth was put on success team. Like he just got the tag because that was the easiest way to give him permissions to post all his flow stuff. He did DM me yesterday though that people were asking him success team questions. So no, Tirth is he's a developer. He's not gonna have time to be doing any one-on-ones. So that will still be running through John and I. But I think, yeah, I think he's looking in. Probably Jim is gonna have to change his tag. Glitch is gonna have to switch his tag type because yeah, people I think were already starting to ask him stuff. Yeah, this should be about yeah, typical exactly. So so we'll probably have to switch the structure of how he is because I don't want his DMs getting blown up. I think already as soon as they said like, oh, Trishul is not Trishul, shoot, that Tirth is like flow seeker head. I think people like bombarded his DMs to get access. So I think he already yeah, he messaged me. He's like, yeah, I don't plan on doing that again. Baggins. Oh, so Baggins, that's actually wrong. So it's not just positive gex. Negative gex can also be king node. So right now is a good example, right? We have complete, all king nodes are negative at the moment. Is that in the academy? Where's that written? Okay, yeah, thanks, Baggins. Yeah, I'll go look at that. I haven't spent a lot of time proofreading the academy stuff. I think there's like a few small errors, but I think most of the big errors were already highlighted to John and he already handled them. But I think there's still a few like wording things we can go and fix. So I'll go take a look at that. Thanks, Baggins. Mugen, do I only trade these three? The indexes? No, no. So I trade. I mean, recently I have been trading all indexes. Just due to so I've been trading mostly SPX and XSP. Just due to like all the news that was coming out overnight, I just don't feel so comfortable holding stuff overnight if I know, I don't know, Trump will do this, Iran will do that, whatever. So I just didn't want to deal with that. But if things stabilize, I'll go back to trading individuals as well. I used to do a lot of individuals before before I switched to this as a job. Like back when I used to work as an engineer, so individual tickers were a lot less time intensive compared to indexes. So that was the bulk of my trading was actually individual tickers. But also last year was just a healthier environment for them, right? But I guess nowadays with the Max 7 having 3 day a week expirations, you can also day trade those. I haven't looked into that too much. That's also a viable pathway. If I don't know if the indexes on a given day look really bad, you can probably take a look at Max 7 and see if you're able to find a cleaner setup there. What do I think about Costco? Oh, yeah, let me go take a look. Wait, so are these maps fixed? Is that a replay issue thing? Not sure what was going on there. Give me a second. Let me pull up the chart for Costco. All right, Costco just double bottomed really nice. Yeah, so it looks like Costco just double bottomed off this negative node, 970. So I wonder if this was there yesterday. Let me check yesterday's map. I don't know, I guess around. Oh, I don't know if this is gonna load. Forgot the replay isn't working. If we break above 990, yeah, I know Costco usually that 1K is like a really big psych level. So over here we rejected off of it quite a few times. Got a bounce off of it as well. I think in the past, like even last year, that 1000 level, all the time it would show up. All right, yeah, there's something wrong with the replay then. So it's not the heat maps themselves. Super annoying. Uh, yeah, I'd agree with you. If we get 990, we break above retest, we can probably get a push higher. Yeah, but I mean, to me, this move off Costco, off 970, it's negative note, right? We had an overshoot, hit down towards like 966. So this is a really, it's actually a pretty clean play. I don't know if it was this, yeah, this morning it offered a second entry. Either yesterday or this morning, either entry would have paid out really well. Got $15 move off of that. Oh yeah, if you got off 970, then probably up a good, like a nice chunk. You probably just trim leave runners and see if we manage to break through that 990. I don't know what expiration you have. Let me look at the VEX. Yeah, this 1015 would be really optimistic, but yeah, there's a chance. Market continues strong. We push through to 90. You might be looking at all the way up to like 1005 or even 1015. But yeah, if you took 970 entry, that's a great trade, Mugen. So yeah, I mean, Costco's a little messier than the ones I usually used to trade, but a lot of times these are the best trades, right? When you have a very clear floor, clear ceiling, it's a level that aligns on Gex and Vex, right? Vex also has very strong volume there. And then like what you do, like say it's Monday, right? Clearly we're not near either side, but you just mark that alert, right? Once you go hit at 970, you get that alert on your phone, then you go double check what's going on the map, right? So I used to trade like that all the time, right? I just look for these individual tickers that had a nice big air pocket, like a very clear floor and ceiling, and we're right in the middle of the range, and that's what I'd be trading. So those are some of my favorite setups, Mugen. So you found a really good one. Scan is Vex the inverse of Gex? No. So VIX will typically inverse where the market is moving, yes, but VEX is not the inverse. So I mean, like the technical definition is GEX, second order derivative of delta, right? And then VEX is, I think, a derivative of volatility on a contract. So that's the technical definition scan. Now, the practical definition, like how do we know which one to use and how do we best use them together, is GEX is going to give you a lot more info for short dated, right? So if you're looking on the indexes, if you're day trading, just stick to the GEX maps, and that's the reason Trinity shows GEX. I know now it shows VEX as well, but it used to only be GEX. Um, and if you're checking VEX, it's for more long dated, right? So on the indexes, you'd be looking at swings, maybe like a couple days or week long swings. For individual tickers, you're looking at VEX if you're looking at GEX if you're doing like 1 week contracts, maybe up to 2 weeks, and then you're looking at the VEX for anything longer than 2 weeks. But the way I tell people, like I would always use them together for individuals, right? So the way I use them is like the GEX is helping pinpoint what entries you're getting, right? So where do we have strong floors, strong ceilings? The VEX is showing you a bit more of, okay, what's our directionality, like our long-term bias, right? If you see a very strong GEX floor, you play that tap and you see that the VEX is steadily rising over the next 3, 4 weeks. that's a very good sign, right? So they're kind of used together, but it's one is showing you a lot more short dated. Like the Gex will reshuffle a lot quicker, so it shows you more of like the short dated levels that you want to be looking at. Vex can be used for entries and strikes. So sometimes yes, Vex can be used for entries. It depends though. Like there's gonna be some cases where it's like for example Costco, right? The setup I was just going over that the Gex Vex align. But some cases you won't have alignment, right? Like one time, sometimes you'll have levels that are very strong on Gex as a floor, and the Vex will just be showing you your target, right? But it won't actually be showing as a floor. So it's kind of variable there. Um, and for strikes, I would not use any nodes as strikes, right? So you have to always remember these nodes can shift on you, right? So let's say, I don't know, Costco, right? Let's say you're targeting 990, you don't buy 990, right? Because the issue is that there's a bit of a buffer on these strikes, right? So if you buy a 990 strike and we push to 989.5, you're finishing out the money even though your thesis was spot on, right? So I always give it like a few strikes under when you're buying, selecting the strikes. Now that's a heat map way of selecting them. The other thing I'd recommend is make sure the delta on those contracts is zero point 0.3 or above. That's going to be the best way to make sure you get a contract that isn't too heavily um, messed up by theta, right? If you look at higher deltas, you start running into theta issues unless the move goes your way like immediately, right? Which is obviously a pretty hard thing to do to time every move. So it goes in your favor immediately. All right, hopefully that helps, Scan. Mugen, you had Google AI. Oh, I mean Google. All right, Google AI. Was that Gemini? Gemini's doing well then. I'll have to start trying that. That's pretty cool. Yeah, so again here, right? SPX getting a bit more of a rejection. QQQ has been a lot stronger all day. It's just surging up and up and up. Yeah, no problem, Scan. All right. Who else in here? Yeah, any other questions? I can stay on another, I guess, 20, 30 minutes if needed. Otherwise I'll go eat some lunch. So I have not eaten. Scanned, I do this full time. Yeah, so like my job, so I used to be an engineer, right? My job now is since like Thanksgiving week of November last year, I've been doing just support to this server, right? So John and I both work as like employees of Glitch, basically. So all the one-on-ones, any live stream I do, the one-on-ones, John does like all the docs he writes, all the YouTube videos we create across the both of us, like that's all part of our job, right? It's really just how can we accelerate. Glitch used to do this himself, right? When the group was 20 people. Obviously, as the group grew, he has no bandwidth to do this. Like he's not able to do this and develop tools. So he's been sort of offloaded a big chunk of this over to John and I. He obviously still does some like live streams and stuff when time permits. But it's a way for him to be able to get the most out of his time on the development side. And John and I can handle most of the questions and teachings and trainings of everybody, right? So yeah, Scan, if you're probably newer to the group. If you're newer to the group, like you can add me, DM me at any point, right? There's a lot of people here. There's a lot of people here. Most people in here I've chatted with, right? Like Baggins I've DM'd, Mizzy, typical, AP, Dolce, like all these people I've either hopped on a call or I've DM'd them quite a few times. So that's the point of us being here is these live streams, but then also on an individual basis. If you need, let me know. Two job schedule. Okay. Yeah, Scan and yeah, just text me if your schedule's a bit funky due to like if you have two other jobs and it's something you're trying to balance. If you want to hop on a call with me, I'll match your schedule as best I can. So whether late night, early morning, midday, whatever time is best for you, I'll try to make it work. Or even on the weekend if that's better. AP, you're an engineer as well. Oh, okay. AP, I thought you were a teacher because you have educator to trader. I think that might just be the name of your coaching thing. So I think I might have misunderstood that part. I'm an engineer as well. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I studied aerospace and I worked in the energy sector. Um, yeah, I don't know. I like this job a lot. Like I was considering switching to teaching anyways. I just prefer I like the human aspect of it a bit more. So I enjoy this job a lot. Engineering, I like the theory of it all, but I just in the workplace I found I wasn't enjoying it very much. You're an engineer, then professor. Oh, okay. Okay, so you are educator. Okay. So I wasn't too far off on that. Oh, very cool. Professor as well. Yeah, I thought about doing professors, just I don't have the credentials, right? Usually you need usually you need masters or PhD and too lazy to do more school on my side. So yeah, luckily, I mean this was kind of just big stroke of luck that I could pivot to this, but I've always done a lot of teaching on the side, whether it's like tutoring, stuff like that. Professor would be cool. Yeah, I don't think I'd go through a PhD to get to to get qualified enough to do that. That's very cool, APA. Yeah, I had no idea. Dolce and give her, bro. No, I'm not trading for anybody. I'll spend as much time as I need teaching any of y'all. But yeah, the goal is for y'all to do it on your own, right? And it takes, some people take longer than others, but I've seen if the time is put in, I've seen some pretty crazy turnarounds in terms of improvement from people who came in struggling like big time and they're able to find good success, right? So yeah, it takes a bit more time for some than others, but as long as progress is being shown, know that the support that you may need is here, right? You just have to take advantage of it. Yeah, Dolce, that's why I enjoy this job, right? So it's still teaching in a way. Obviously, it's not formal, let's say, right? But you're still teaching people to use the tool and all of that. So that's actually why I like this job so much. You didn't enjoy workplace either, master. Okay, yeah, nice. Yeah, I think the workplace is for some, but for me, yeah, I didn't like it too much. Or I guess it would take too long to get in a position where you're actually training and teaching, right? I guess once you get to senior level engineering, or if you're a chief engineer, then it's a bit more, you are training some of the newers. But I was 2, 3 years into the career, so that was that was like a decade removed for me. Uh, yeah, Trishul had a huge turnaround. He's banking now, like he's one of the most in terms of spreads. I don't know if anyone trades them better than he does, honestly, out of everyone that I've chatted with. So he's killing it, and I know he was previous he wasn't doing as strong, and now he's really really found like a really good system he does that he has. So there's been really a lot of big turnarounds I've seen, and I haven't been doing this too long, right? Not even half a year, and I've seen some pretty crazy results from people. Lean into one thing. Yeah, yeah, AP for sure. I think especially on futures. I think actually futures traders struggle with this the most. There's so many strategies that exist, YouTube, like different communities, etc. So they're kind of hopping around all over. And a lot of times the issue is not actually what strategy you're implementing, but just how rigorously you're doing so, right? So I've seen people succeed with fair value gaps, support resistance, heat seeker, like all kinds of things, right? But it's the discipline in applying those strategies that's really going to make the big difference. Dolce, how are the one-on-ones? One-on-ones are good. They've been a bit busier, just with the big influx with the new tiers and all of that. So there's been a big influx of users, but I've actually not added one-on-ones. What I've added is office hours. So my goal here is like I can cover more people with these sessions than doing a one-on-one. But so I still split my focus, but I'm trying to. I guess right now I'm at like six office hour, 5 to 6 office hour sessions a week. And if I need, I'll add more. But my goal there is I can cover a bit more, get to a bit more people that way, if that makes sense. Whereas before, yeah, the big struggle. I mean, when the group was smaller, I could actually get to everyone individually, but it's been really tough to do so lately with that. Yeah, we're getting another dump here on SBI. Oh yeah, I don't even have Trinity up. Yeah, Trishul, I guess. I think Trishul, you took your profits on this first red candle, right? So I think you played that debit spread perfect. But I guess playing the double top would have worked as well. I just don't know how much of a move down we're gonna get. 70-20, 70-15, looking like they may hold. I guess QQQ may sink all the way down to 636. Yeah, yeah, I don't like this all-time high stuff. I don't like the divergence because what ends up happening is one index looks so much cleaner, right? So like SPX, we're looking at this, just saying, okay, like this double top makes sense. QQQ, this is not a double top at all, right? Like this is a full dollar difference or like 80 cents. So it starts getting really tricky at all-time highs. You get some really weird situations where if you're not looking at both indexes, you're just going to completely miss some of the plays in terms of double tops, double bottoms, support resistance. It's just not as much confluence as in the past. Dolce future, yeah, Dolce. So futures is like for me, I've always been terrible at futures, and I hate it, right? So like I've always like I try both. I guess I primarily focus on options, but I've always had futures as like I want to improve at it. Um, yeah, I don't know for whatever reason I struggle a bit more with it. I guess because you can't size for zero, so if your sizing's a bit off, you get pretty cooked, right? Yeah, or you have to be very picky with the entry. So like John, yeah, John's definitely the one you want to chat to on future stuff. I know the basics, but he's really the one that's like he's making a ton of money with that stuff. I think on Big T, yeah, that's a good point, right? Once we start pushing all-time high, if we consistently stay up here, so if it's not something where we just immediately reject tomorrow and I don't know, get a big sell-off, um, you start looking into sector rotations, right? So what happens is that usually one sector will run hot for a week or two, then cool off, right? So if you're able to time which sector you're looking into, you can often just keep swapping what individual ticker you trade, and you can do very, very well in that manner, right? And Big T, one thing I'd look into is if you look at the sector ETFs, sometimes you can get a bit of a head start into like which sector is about to run. So if you're looking at like what are these sector ETFs like XLE and all this stuff? Yeah, so if you go to like, XLB all the way down to, I don't know what the last one is, I guess XLY, you can get a bit of a hint into like what sectors are looking like they're about to bottom out or top out, and then make sure you're trading the ones that we're expecting to have a nice rotation into and get a strong run on them. Um, all right. Oh, Mugen, I just saw yours. So QCOM, Qualcomm, Barney stack on top. Uh, Let me pull up the chart before I say anything, actually. Yeah, so Qualcomm, it does look like we got near, we didn't quite tap 135, but it looks like we're rejecting that positive node. If we sink further, you could probably look for 129 or 131 to hold. 131 would be a pretty nice, I guess this whole zone, right? So this whole box here, Qualcomm looks decent. If we hold this volume for us to get a bounce, either bounce into Friday, if you're playing like pretty close to the money contracts, or I guess you could play a longer term, maybe into next week or 2 weeks out, if you want a bit more safety on it and you don't want to deal with like the zero DTE once we go tap that level. Jason, oh yeah, Jason, that'll be John Wicks. So if you go to, I mean, two ways. Either just message him, or if you go to the like new to Skylit, there should be a link in there for setting up a one-on-one with him. So either way, check his schedule. If there's a time that works for you, just go ahead and set that up. And then if there's not a time that works for you, DM him because a lot of times, both of us, right? Like both of us, a lot of times we're actually available more than what's on the schedule. It's just not consistently, right? Where it's sort of like on a day by day basis. So just let us know. We're usually able to fit you in pretty quickly. Oh, also, Jason, I would check out his YouTube. Uh, um, do I have let me send you the link. So he has like a futures clinic put together. So even before you chat with him, You can go check that out. It's like a playlist of maybe it's like 6 or 7 videos, I think. Go check that out and like just listen through because it's explaining how he trades futures, how he charts, how he reads Heatseeker. So like he has like a nice little, I guess like mini series, right? Which I think will be really valuable for you. I think yeah, that should help you out, Jason. Yeah, yeah, no problem at all. Craig, favorite thing to do, sect ETFs into Claude. Yeah. Good point, Craig, right? Like once you check the sect ETFs, you can then go through, look at the top names and say, okay, which one of those has the best setup for whatever direction you're biased towards based on the sector ETF. So yeah, seeing good alignment with sector ETF and whatever, I guess like yeah, if you're looking at SMH and Nvidia are both looking bullish, then that's probably a stronger trade to take than if they're opposing each other. So yeah, good point, Craig. All right. Did I miss any questions? I don't believe so. All right. Anything else? Market's about to close, but so I think I'll probably just end this here. Yeah, SPX. It looks like we did hold those levels. Yeah, mock's in a few minutes, so I mean, yeah, mock is mock. There's not. I don't like to analyze it too closely because it's. I mean, yeah, you can get a bit more of an edge with Heatseeker, but it's still end of the day that thing is just going to move as it wants. So it's going to be it's pretty hectic to catch it right. So often, yeah, I don't want to like encourage people to trade mock. Um, so I don't really say anything about it at all. Calls or puts. I actually don't know right now. This is a pretty weird situation right now. Like those SPX levels, I think they'd hold, but QQQ is looking like we have a ceiling at 637, so those are kind of going against each other. So a lot of times when that happens, you kind of just wait to see if one side unwinds, right? Because what's happening is they're kind of blocking each other, right? If one is a ceiling, one's a floor, you're kind of getting that contradicting thesis. But then what'll happen late day is one side will just completely fall off. Not every day, but a lot of times one side will just sort of fade away. So it'll sort of like open that direction, if that makes sense. Uh, yeah, or retracement size is true, right? A lot of times you can just buy both. And if you get any kind of directional move, so as long as it doesn't just, go up and down and stay in the same spot, you get any kind of directional move, one side will work super well. So you can kind of strangle it, right? Or straddle. I don't remember which is like the correct word. I think it's strangle, whichever of the two it is. But you can trade it that. I know some people who do that every single day on mock. All right, Craig, barbecue. I wish Craig I had barbecue ready, but yeah, we'll see what I go cook up. Craig, you be eating good. I see some of the pictures you send of the when you grill, your stuff looks crazy nice. Yeah, Dolce, no problem. All right, Mugen, yeah, no problem at all. All right, thanks everyone for joining. Again, any questions, send them over my way. And then the Monday, Wednesday ones, I do them pretty routinely in the afternoon. I also do some at night, which are like partnered with another server. So feel free to join those as well if like the time of day works better. And then if not, oh, and then tomorrow, yeah, it looks like we're pumping on mock then. Tomorrow, Jesus. Yeah, tomorrow I'll do live trading. Yesterday I didn't do it because I was installing some backsplash and that was a disaster. So that was taking like my whole day. Um, but yeah, tomorrow I should be on for the morning. Same kind of thing, just answering questions and just sharing a bit of my thoughts on the market. All right. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining. Hope everyone has a good day, good rest of their Wednesday. And yeah, see some of y'all tomorrow or in the future. All right. Bye.